All right, so what I was saying is that I am actually not, all that much of a hardware guy, but I have been hearing about this pen tablet from a lot of teachers that I work with, people in the comments, and it particularly comes up with programs that require different types of drawing. And although I'm not a hardware guy, there was so much buzz around this tablet that I got really excited about it. Wacom contacted me. They wanted to send me a tablet. So they sent me the One by Wacom, which we're going to be talking about today. And they have also sponsored today's show. So I do want to thank them for being a show sponsor. Now, as a non-hardware guy, a guy who's really mostly about utilitarian function of different devices, what excites me about this tablet and what I hope to show you in today's show is how it can add functionality to our teaching. So I think of hardware in the same way I do tech apps. If it can improve our teaching in some way, then I'm all for it. And I hope to show you today how I believe that this pen tablet can do that. Now, I do also have a very exciting announcement. Wacom and I are going to be doing a giveaway. So today you have the opportunity to win one of these tablets. We're going to be giving away two One by Wacom tablets. It's very easy to enter into the contest. And if you're watching live, you actually have multiple opportunities to get your name in. So first of all, it's going to be a 24-hour contest. That means tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll be picking the winners. I will announce them on next week's show. Now, all you need to do to enter is put in the live chat any comment that uses the word Wacom. So ideally, some way maybe that you're learning how to teach with Wacom, but any comment that uses Wacom. And you do need to make sure that you're signed up for my mailing list. Now, there is a link in the video description that will get you on my mailing list if you're not already on it. So just those two things, comment that uses Wacom and make sure your name is on my mailing list. Now, if you're watching it live, you also have an opportunity to enter your name twice because for those who are watching the recorded version of the video, you can also get your name entered by entering a comment on the recorded video. So again, giving away two of these Wacom tablets, you just need to put Wacom, see these comments coming through, I love it, in the chat. And make sure you're on my mailing list. The link is in the video description to win one. We'll announce the winner next Thursday. Okay, now also very excited to announce that I have an upcoming workshop with the Bureau of Education and Research on April 5th and April 6th, and another one on May 3rd and May 4th. This is a full day workshop that you can earn continuing education credits for, professional development credit for. I'll be showing how to increase student learning with education technology. Link is in the video description for that as well if you want to check it out. Lastly, before we get into looking at this pen tablet, do just want to say, I try my best to deliver the highest quality content to you and every single week. And, it's sometimes a lot of hard work gets put into putting together videos and live shows. So if you are interested in also supporting the channel, I do now have available channel memberships. Channel memberships can be found on my YouTube channel. There's a little join button. And it has some small perks like emojis and stickers, and you can request videos and have priority comments and things like that. But really what it is a way to be a patron of the channel and support the work that I do. So if that's something that's interesting to you and you want to support the channel, I'd love to have you as a member. You can hit the join button on my YouTube channel. All right, awesome. So let's get into it. We're going to be talking about Wacom. Now, throughout the show, again, you can always put Wacom in the comments for an ability to win one. And there's also a link in the video description to buy one. That is an affiliate link. I want to be transparent. I would get a small commission if you bought one. Another way you could help the channel. There's also a link. I saw some people already saying that they are looking to buy tablets for teachers, that if you're looking to buy bulk tablets for your school, there's also a link to be able to connect directly with Wacom so that you can purchase those for your whole school and get a discount. So all those links are in the video description on my YouTube channel. Okay, so first I want to talk about why it's actually important to draw when teaching. Okay, so we're talking about a drawing tablet. why draw at all when teaching, right? So regardless of whether or not we're teaching digitally or in person, drawing just makes teaching more dynamic in lots of different ways, right? So we can draw to annotate text, we can draw to emphasize things, we can draw to just make teaching more engaging, to visualize learning, to bring learning to life. And we've always known this as teachers, right? We've always had either a chalkboard or a whiteboard or those transparent overheads, or later the document cameras, to be able to just freely sketch and teach and be showing things with our, markers or chalk or pencils or pen. So drawing has always been a key element of effective modeling and teaching, and being able to do things kind of on the fly, right? Now, teaching with digital drawings, I would argue, is an upgrade from a physical whiteboard or an overhead projector for lots of reasons. Physical whiteboards and overhead projectors are really one-dimensional and static, right? So, you can only keep the whiteboard where it is. You have to actually have a handout to be able to draw on, right? Whereas on the other hand, digital drawing tools are completely fluid and flexible. And with a digital drawing tool, you can essentially draw on anything without any pre-planning in that kind of way that you would do quickly writing on a whiteboard, but now you can do it on anything. You can also, with a digital drawing, take those drawings and you can save them to use later. So they're not just fixed on the whiteboard or getting erased, they can now exist permanently. You can post those for students to be able to reference, and you can use it as a tool to be able to do things like flip your classroom, even record yourself using Screencastify or Loom, doing some drawings to do some direct instruction. And students can also jump in and they can interact with what you're doing as well. So they become interactive. So whereas I would say that physical drawing is much more one-dimensional, much more traditional, it's more about the teacher just delivering information and it exists only within a classroom space. Digital drawing is 21st century teaching. It's an upgrade. Now, the problem, right, is that so many drawing tools need to be used with a mouse or a trackpad. And I always hear from people how that's no good, right? So you're trying to do Jamboard or you're trying to do Pear Deck or Cami, and you're trying to use the mouse and the trackpad, it just doesn't work as well, right? So enter this tablet, the One by Wacom, which is a plug-in tablet that I'm going to be showing everybody today, that allows you to draw digitally, however, have that same kind of fluidity with drawing that you would with a pencil or a pen, because it comes with a stylus. So you're no longer having to try to track around and draw things with a mouse, right? Okay, so let me show you what this thing looks like. It is about 8 inches across and 6 inches of 6.5 or so of actual space to be able to draw on. And it's also about 5.5 inches wide. So it's not particularly big. And actually this was designed to be, usable in the classroom for not just teachers, but for students as well. And I'll be showing that to you today. You'll notice that it's just a plug-in. So it has a USB plug-in here, and that's it. So you just plug it in and it works essentially like a mouse replacement. So you could use this tablet, and I'll show you this in a second, instead of a mouse. I personally still like to have my mouse. So today I'll be using my mouse in one hand and the tablet in the other, and I kind of have a little scene set up for myself. Now, when you first use a tablet, this Wacom tablet, one thing to note is that you will want to have the tab correctly oriented. So just make sure that it's on the left-hand side of the screen or left-hand side, and that it's not positioned in a weird way, because what's different about it and what you have to learn how to do is position it in a way that it mirrors or reflects what you're seeing in front of you on the screen, because you're going to be drawing on that and actually having that show up on the screen. So you don't want it kind of off to the side or turned around. You want it well aligned and sitting in front of you. So that's kind of the main thing to just keep in mind when you're using them. Now, these styluses, I also love. I've used an Apple Pencil and other types of styluses. This is a pressure sensitive stylus. So if you're using a program where you can actually draw and make digital art, which is actually what Wacom is originally built for. They've been making tablets for over 40 years, very popular and reputable in the digital art community. You can actually draw with pressured lines and have those show up with this stylus, and you don't need to plug it in, right? So it's doesn't require a recharge, which I really appreciate. Okay, so let's take a look now at what this can do, and going to basically use the show to demo lots of different ways that you could use a pen tablet. Now, do want to keep in mind that I am going to thoroughly embarrass myself in today's show because, as I love to tell students, I am the worst drawer. Somebody that it's like, how did you ever go through elementary school and never learn basic drawing skills? That's me. I actually love to draw in front of students and make fun of myself for that reason. So now I'm just going to do it publicly on YouTube. I'm going to do all kinds of drawing and sketching. I am a terrible drawer. That should not preclude a person from drawing while teaching. You can still be totally awful at drawing and still make use of drawing while teaching. Okay, so let's take a look at this pen tablet. So I'm going to switch over here to a screen, and we're going to start by taking a look at Actively Learn. Now, why am I talking about Actively Learn? Because I want to show you a lot of my favorite programs and how you can upgrade a lot of these programs with this pen tablet. So first of all, one thing that you'll want to do when you are working with this tablet is touch up on the left-hand side of your screen so that when you kind of orient yourself to where you are on the screen, it will sort of reset and help align where you want the mouse cursor to go. Now, you'll notice right now that there's actually a mouse cursor, right, that is free floating right now over the screen. And I'm using the stylus. So that is not my mouse, that is the stylus. And I'm actually not even touching the screen right now. Or I'm not touching the tablet. So this can hover over, it's sensitive. And then, you can actually use it like a full cursor. You can go up and I could do things like assign it. So it is a full mouse replacement. You could use this entirely as your only mouse, right? Now, for something like a web page, right, that doesn't actually have a draw tool, it's not that this is just going to allow you to draw on something, right? So that is important. It still has to be a program that has some sort of draw tool. So all you need to do, luckily though, is get an extension, right, to be able to do that. So you can use an extension like the Annotate extension here. And I've shown this in other shows, love this extension. And with the Annotate extension, then you can draw. So now all I need to do is select a draw tool. I can select a color here that I'm looking for. So we'll do like red. And now I can actually mark up text. So now I could do things like circle text on a screen, right? So suddenly now the text that I'm showing to students is so much more dynamic. I want to say assign this to students and have students do an article, but I want to talk about some things first. So, I want to point out what's important about this date, right? And I want to do things like add a little highlighter on there as well to highlight some place on the text. I can do that too. So it just adds already this other dynamic. And what's great about this combination of this extension with this pen tablet is that these are also sticky. So when I scroll them down, it's not like that's stuck on the screen. It's actually stuck where I did that annotation. So I love that. Okay, next example. Let's say we're just on regular web page here. Typically, you may present a web page. Web pages are, they're kind of static, right? There's no way to engage with them. Same thing, you can grab the pen tool, and actually you can also do things like grab this tool, right? And use the pen tablet, so much more fluid. Or you can grab one of the pen tools, and then you can do things like circle directly on it, make notes about who this person is. Oh, and also keep in mind that I'm also a terrible, not only am I a terrible drawer, I'm terrible at penmanship and everything. My stuff always looks like I'm like a doctor, right? Okay, so I'm drawing on the screen, can draw freely with the pen tablet, makes it so much easier to do. Similarly, you can also do this with Google Slides. So Google Slides, another thing that people are always trying to figure out, how can you draw on Google Slides? Again, with this Annotate extension now and the Wacom Pen Tablet, I can very easily be teaching, circling words. Let's talk about this word knowledge. What does this word knowledge mean? Just makes everything that I'm doing so much more engaging and interactive. This will also work in present mode. So you can be presenting these Google Slides and you can be actively talking about it and talking about what it is that you are going to do. And all of those annotations are sticky too, right? So they stay there. I got my stylus. I'm able to just fully engage and interact with what we are doing. This will work also with Google Docs. So here I pulled up a script. If you want to really see the background of what I do all week, it's actually all I do is write. This is a 13-page single page script for the last video that I just did about GimKit. And anyways, this is another way that you can use it. So here, you can highlight some keywords. We're going to talk about some key points here, highlight words, and then you can add some annotations, circle words, things like that. So again, just a really easy way with a combination of this extension and the pen tablet to be able to suddenly make these what would normally be static type assignments dynamic and interactive. Somebody's asking how you erase. So the erase tool is just up here, and you erase with this particular app, and you just strike out like that to erase it. So super easy as well. So I know for sure, this doesn't matter if you're teaching virtually, if you're teaching in person, just the ability to project and use that tablet to just draw all over and give instructions, things like that on the screen is pretty awesome. Okay, so that's using the Annotate extension and using the stylus to be able to draw. Now let's look at some programs that have some built-in draw tools. So one is Jamboard. Now I love Jamboard. If you've watched other videos, you know how much I love digital whiteboards in particular. And I'm actually going to show how this works with all my favorite digital whiteboards, just because I want to show you how it all would work. The thing about digital whiteboards is that they are a huge upgrade from a physical whiteboard, but only if you can draw freely on them. They're okay if you're using text and shapes and things like that, but really you need to be able to draw on a whiteboard the same way that you would draw on any other kind of whiteboard, right? So what I'm going to show you here is how, I hate, and I always get this comment too, how do you draw on Jamboard? Well, you don't that well, to be honest, with just using your mouse or your trackpad. It is not that easy to do. It's kind of clunky, but totally different with the pen tablet. So, here, let's say, for example, that we are teaching a math lesson, okay? Then at the top, I'm going to make up some math right now too, okay? So let's say that we're going to do something. We'll do some dividing fractions. Okay, so I'm going to just write the lesson title, and notice how I can just very easily write very quickly, and then you can do some modeling of some problems. So here I'm just going to change the tool. We'll do like 3/4 divided by 1/2. I'm going to do some model of reciprocal fractions here. So just like I would with any type of whiteboard, I can now just freely and openly write on this exactly the same way that I would with the same exact messy handwriting that I would on a physical whiteboard as well, right? Then, with Jamboard, you can do things like you could set up some problems, for example. You could handwrite, have some steps at the top, handwrite your problems, and then you can also, after you've done this, go to up here and actually take a picture of this as an image. And then you can set this as a background. So here, I'm going to set this as a background. Go to the image that I just made. And now this is going to be a fixed background on Jamboard. And so now you can see, right, that, when I go with the tool, that I'm not able to erase it. It's a fixed background. And now I can actually share this with students. So, you can imagine that you just wrote out some steps, you wrote out some problems, then students can get on and they can actually, fill out answers to the problems as well. So super powerful to use for both modeling, being able to show work visually, things like that, and then having students jump in. Okay, clearly I'm not a math teacher, so I'll show another way that I would do this. So, something like, let's say we're going to do a quick mind map and, I want to we're going to do a quick model. This is the same exact type of stuff that I would do just on a regular whiteboard. We're going to have a key idea. We're going to have our details. And, let's say we're going to do something about turtles here, right? I'll bring in an image of turtles and I want everybody to write down something that they know about turtles. So I can do a quick model for people. What's something that I know about turtles? Oh, I don't know, they're green, right? And then students, can jump in and they can add their notes as well. So again, just super fluid and flexible ability to write directly on Jamboard. Also really useful in Jamboard for doing things like annotating text. So this is one of Matt Miller's templates that we did a video a couple weeks ago about Jamboard together. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It shows kind of lots of these different strategies. But one of the things he talks about is, being able to annotate. So again, let's say this would be particularly useful for students. We're going to do things like box text here as a way to practice. We're going to identify important sentences with blue, and we're going to put a red box around something that we have some doubts about. And, when I'm drawing with this tablet, it's incredibly responsive. I'm able to get it exactly the way that I want it to go. And, you can see that's just, you could draw a very straight line. It's just, I am not capable of drawing straight lines like that, but very responsive as opposed to trying to draw with a mouse or a trackpad. It's just totally different. So here are some different examples, some different ways that you could use a pen tablet with Jamboard. Okay, now another tool that I like is Whiteboard.fi. So the way Whiteboard.fi works is a little bit different from Jamboard. It's an individual whiteboard system. So here you can push your teacher whiteboard out to students and you can do some modeling. So, you could do something, and again, bear with me, I'm going to embarrass myself here with my drawing skills. But, let's say you wanted to do something like have students do some labeling, for example. So maybe you're doing an activity like where you're learning about the parts of a tree or something like that. And, then you want to, well, change some color here. Whoops. You want to have them, do, let's see. That's not the right color. Hold on. I'm going for dark brown here. Okay. So, now we're going to draw some branches. Again, if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, I gave a disclaimer that I'm the worst drawer in the world. It's my big joke with students. This is a tree. I promise this is a tree. And then, you're going to draw some leaves on the tree. Okay. Stuff like this, right? Okay. So I'm modeling clearly, terribly for students as I'm drawing. And then I want to do like a type of activity where, I'm going to have, thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. Where, we're going to do maybe some labeling, right? So they're going to label, the branches, they're going to label the trunk, they're going to label the roots, they're going to label the leaves. And I could even do, I could do a little bit modeling for them here by showing them like, here's the leaf. That's what you would do. Okay. And then, go to my eraser tool. I'm going to use the eraser. By the way, I'm not touching my mouse. This is all right now just with the pen tool, the pen tablet. And then, erase it like that. Feels totally natural. I'm just erasing the way that I normally would. And then you can do cool things. So you can say, okay, wow, I'm sorry, that's the worst drawing of a tree. I promise you, terrible drawings here. Okay, so, with this kind of tool, with Whiteboard.fi, now you could push this out to students. So I could take this and say, all right, I'm going to push this to all students. And now students are going to have this drawing of, I don't know what that is, and they are going to annotate that, and they're going to label that, which is supposed to be a tree, right? So, again, just made my teacher whiteboard tool way more dynamic. There's no way that I could have, there's no way I could have done that with just the mouse. And obviously I can barely do it with actual pen because I'm a terrible drawer, but you can see how it's just so much better for actually physically doing some digital drawings. Now, couple of questions here. Thanks. I appreciate that. So funny comments. Okay. No, right now I'm not using an extension. So a lot of these tools have embedded drawing functions in them. So Whiteboard.fi has embedded drawing. And what this allows me to do is access that drawing tool and draw with it, right? So I'm not using any extension. It's just here. And I'm just grabbing the drawing, and I'm going to draw here. Well, I still have the eraser, but I'll draw on that screen. Same with Jamboard. That is not with an extension I'm drawing. These, I was using the Annotate extension for slides because, you're not able to draw on slides. Okay, so let's do another example here. This is Whiteboard.chat, another whiteboard program that I like. So similarly, you can use the drawing tool in Whiteboard.chat, and you could do different types of activities. So again, I'm going to embarrass myself, but let's say you're doing an activity where you want students to be able to do things like do some clouds where they're going to have to be able to identify some different cloud types, things like that. And you could do some different arrows. And then what I love too about these types of digital whiteboard programs, right, is you can go in and now I can add some text. So I'm going to tell students that this is a cumulus cloud, and then I could have them label this cloud. Okay, so again, just that really easy mix of doing some quick drawings with some actual physical text and embedding different things in these digital whiteboards. The key element, I would argue, though, to being able to really use these effectively is something like this pen tablet to be able to draw on it. If you're just now jumping in the show, we are doing a contest to give away 2 of these One by Wacom tablets, which is what I'm using to draw for this entire show all over the screen. It's awesome. I forgot to mention a couple things about it in the beginning. It was the first pen tablet to be certified to be able to use with a Chromebook, so students can use it with a Chromebook. It's also incredibly affordable in comparison to other pen tablets. It's $60, and so it's affordable for teachers and students, and I think really useful for not just teachers to have, but for students to be able to interact and engage in a much more interactive way with their screens as well. Okay, so I'm going to show Pear Deck now. Pear Deck actually has a partnership with Wacom, and when you get a Wacom tablet, you also get a free trial period with Pear Deck, which is awesome. And in Pear Deck, they have this draw tool, right? So, just to show again an example, and this would be more having obviously students using this tool, you can have students use the draw tool in Pear Deck, which is a great tool for accessibility and showing thinking visually, differentiating the way that students show what they know. However, challenging if they don't have a tool to actually be able to do some real drawing, right? So, you might have them do something where they're labeling, drawing and labeling the solar system. Okay, that's supposed to be the sun. Promise it's the sun, but you can see here how as I'm sketching on the pad, it just really gives me that fluid ability to draw and color the same exact way that I normally would. And then, students can do things like now they're going to draw the different layers of the solar system. And just, I really appreciate how responsive this is. I feel like it's doing exactly what I, want it to be doing based on my motion on the screen, and can do things like color that in. And then you could have students label. And again, with Pear Deck is going to work in a similar way to a dynamic whiteboard, where they could do a label like this, but then they could also add text and put the text down and then type and say, that's Mercury, right? And then move that around wherever they need that to go. So really cool tool as well for using a program like Pear Deck using the Draw It tool. Okay. There's a comment here about, did I say? Yes. Okay. So I hear you. It depends about the $60, whether that's affordable for teachers and students. What I meant is that and what I was saying is that compared in comparison. So, there's other tools like iPad, right? Or Android tablets or other pen tablets that are hundreds of dollars. Most of them are like 3, 4 plus hundreds of dollars. So it's more affordable in comparison to those. I can't make a judgment about whether the cost is affordable per se. It's just that it's more affordable than the more expensive tablets that allow you to do digital drawings. Okay, let's take a look as well at a program like Kami. So Kami is another program that where you can use some digital drawing tools in Kami, and just like all the other programs that I showed, you can access drawing. And here, for example, you might want to either model or have students do things, where they're actually annotating the text. So they could draw a box around a word and say, we're going to identify what we think that word means. Again, they could go here, add a text box and type in, I think this means ... and then place that wherever they want it to go. So again, you notice the precision. It would be very difficult to draw boxes around words and things like that if all you had was just your mouse cursor. So it allows you to do things, allows you and students to do things like markup text and fully treat a document that is digital the same way that you would any kind of physical document, right? So this is a 1 by Wacom Pen Tablet. I just showed lots of different ways for how it could be used, whether you're using it with the Annotate extension and then being able to annotate anything on the web or slides or anything you can imagine. You can then use the internal digital drawing tools in all of these different programs like Kami and Pear Deck, Whiteboard.fi, Whiteboard.chat, etc., to be able to treat these digital documents the same way that you would a paper document and write all over them. So I hope that that was helpful. I know that there are lots of different comments and questions, and I want to remind people as well that we have a contest today. So if you want to win one of these tablets, you just need to make sure that you're putting in the chat a comment that uses the word Wacom. And then you also need to make sure you're signed up for my mailing list. I'll do a little cross check to see who dropped a comment in that says Wacom, who's on my mailing list. If you're watching the recorded version of the video, you can also drop a comment in on the recorded version. And you can actually enter your name twice if you're live by doing it both ways. So I'm going to take some questions now, and I'm also happy to toggle back and show some of the ways that the tablet works. Yeah, so there are other tablets out there, and what I said in the beginning, I'm actually I'm not at all a hardware guy. I'm not all that knowledgeable about all the different hardware and stuff that's out there. What I do appreciate, though, about this particular pen tablet is that it works with devices students have, like Chromebooks. And again, it's relatively affordable in comparison to other ones and very easy for people to use. So I do like this pen tablet. There are other types of pen tablets too. Okay, so where's the link to sign up for email? It's in the video description. I can also get that link in the chat as well. It says mailing list, sign up for the mailing list. You also get some free resources in there too. Okay. Hey, Carl, good to see you again. And yes, I agree. It's an amazing tool. And I think you would find it really useful and helpful, irrespective of whether you're teaching in person or online. Just basically gives you a new kind of superpower with a digital pen to be able to draw all over your screen. I love that. Yep, that's hilarious. Awesome. Thanks, Kelly, for the comment. Yeah, that it saved your sanity, and you've been using it for Jamboard for teaching remotely. Yeah, I'd love to hear other people who are using it or ideas for how people are using it as well. And it was, I mentioned this in the beginning, just brought to my attention from a lot of teachers that I worked with that were using it, because I was always kind of griping about how difficult it is to draw on a screen and hearing that from a lot of people. But this is a great solution for that. Okay, so if you have any more questions, I can still stay on for a while. I know there's lots of comments, lots of people that are entering the contest. So that's awesome. I will be announcing the winner for that next week. And before we go, and while I have questions still coming in, again, want to thank today's sponsor, Wacom, who sent me the One by Wacom tablet to demo and show to everybody how it works. And they have been, in the industry making pen tablets for digital artists for 40 plus years. They're highly reputable, just now starting to enter into the education sphere. And so they reached out to me, wanted to see if I wanted to try one. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I'd heard about it from so many people that I was really excited to do that. So thanks, Wacom, for sponsoring this show. And also let everybody know at the beginning of the show that if you are interested in becoming a patron of the channel and supporting the work that I do, you can now join my channel as a channel member by clicking on the join button on my YouTube channel. You get some small perks like emojis and stickers and ability to request videos, suggest live show topics, priority responses to comments and things like that. But it's really about supporting me and the work I do and being able to continue to do this work in the future. So if you'd like to join, you can hit the join button. Okay, yeah, so there are lots of different comments and questions, and I am excited to announce the winner for the Wacom tablet next Thursday. And Sandra, I agree. So although I obviously am not personally a math teacher, and every time I try to demo math, it always kind of goes a little bit astray. Definitely an awesome tool for teaching math in a hybrid environment. I would argue in person too, again, because you can do things like save that whiteboard, have students come in and interact with it, post it for students to be able to see later. So it's just an upgrade to the whole whiteboarding experience in general. Okay, so Carl, yeah, this is a good question. I appreciate about some strategies you use to allow students to use the Wacom pen. Yeah, this is something that is going to have to be worked out on a school by school basis. I think if you are, so first of all, it does just a logistics thing. It has this little tab on the side that allows you to slide the pen in to keep it so that it's fixed there. It doesn't roll too much because it has these buttons that basically act like a mouse cursor, or I'm sorry, like a clicker on the mouse. So they don't roll a ton, but of course there is a risk, you have students using them that they're going to roll off or get lost. So it's really about best practices. I would apply whatever practices you have for one-to-one devices, whether that's, they're kept in a particular location if you're in an in-school situation, or that students are just responsible for their own devices on their own and keep them in their backpacks if they're older students. So it's really going to be more dependent on individual students. However, the main thing I would suggest is, as somebody who's used different digital stylus tools, is that you make sure that it's kept tucked into the tab so that it doesn't roll off and become lost. That would be the main thing that I would be concerned about. There was a question here about dimensions. So thanks for the question. So the dimensions of the tablet, I have them written down here. Hold on. So this is about 8 inches by 5.5 for the whole tablet. but the actual writing surface is smaller. So it's about 6 inches for the writing surface, and then about 5 inches or so for the writing surface. There are larger Wacom tablets that you could check out, and they also make tablets that can act as a full second screen as well. Those are more expensive. Those would be more applicable for just a teacher, whereas this tool is going to be better for students to use. Okay, still have a lot of questions. Okay, so yeah, Katerina, no problem. So I showed a lot of different tools. I showed how to use a Wacom tablet to do some annotations on Kami. I showed how students could do some digital drawings here to draw like the solar system in Pear Deck. I showed how as a teacher, you could do these little activities where you're having students label things in Whiteboard.chat, or I did my beautiful tree drawing in Whiteboard.fi that I pushed out to student boards. I annotated text on Whiteboard or on Jamboard. I did some mind mapping, some sketching. I did some math problems on Jamboard. I annotated some text on Google Docs. I also annotated some Google Slides here, and my actual mouse is not working all that well right now. And then annotated a web page and all kinds of other stuff. I did a actively learn article too. So all kinds of ways that you can use a Wacom tablet to annotate all over pretty much anything that you want. Carl, I love your comments are always, you're always giving me some, yeah, some, I appreciate it. You can draw trees. Yes, I see that. Okay, so actually for some reason my actual mouse is not working. So I'm just going to move over to the pen here. All right. So yes, thank you, Carl. I can draw trees. I appreciate the rib there. All right. So again, contest for the One by Wacom. Make sure you put in the chat a chat that includes the word Wacom. Make sure you're signed up for my mailing list, and you will be entered in a contest to win one of these. I'm giving away 2. I'm going to announce the 2 winners next week. If you're watching the recorded version of the video, you can also put a comment that uses the word Wacom in the comments of the recorded video. And if you're watching live, you can do both so that you can double enter your name and have a better chance at winning. All right, everybody. And yes, I agree. This is a good comment here to end as well. Although clearly I'm not an artist. If you do any kind of digital art, this is, an awesome tool for that, especially if you're using programs, which I didn't really demo, that actually have pressure control. So if you're using art programs to do digital drawing, the pen is pressure. It detects pressure. So when you're actually pressing harder on the tablet, it will press harder and make a thicker line or a thinner line. So perfect for digital art classes. Absolutely. All right. I appreciate and thank you, Carl. Appreciate that as well. And thanks everybody for at 4 p.m. on Thursdays Pacific Standard Time. You can watch live. You can also come and watch the recorded video later on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody for coming to the show. Again, if you're interested in actually purchasing one of these tablets, there's a link that I'm going to put in the pinned comment. It's in the video description below. It's the One by Wacom. It's an awesome pen tablet. It can upgrade your teaching and make anything you do in a digital environment interactive, engaging. So I definitely recommend that you check it out. All right, everybody, have a great evening.